All right, so today is Tuesday, March the 23rd, 2021. Today is our Perfect Fit Closet webinar, a 1 hour session from 1 p.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern and 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific to 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific there. My name is Sherman Keeley, and I am the North American Sales Manager for Perfect Fit Closets. Okay, we're going to be starting off on some basics here. I'm going to open up our 2020 catalog, and Lisa is the only person available right now, which is fine. Okay, so this is our catalog here. So Lisa, just go ahead. I've got the chat feature up and running. So just ask any questions if you have any. I'm going to go ahead and open up my local browser, and we're going to type in our Perfect Fit Canadian catalog. Okay, Lisa, just to get you started, I'm going to start from the very beginning. Please let me know if this is too basic or if you want me to move on. So I've got my local browser. I've got in my categories, I've got modules, parts, accessories, moldings, obstacles, extras. Then I also do have a kitchen door standalone and kitchen drawer front standalone. And you can always see at the very bottom where our updated catalog is. This is the most current catalog. And as mentioned there, any week now, we should have our latest 2020 catalog. We've been going back and forth with our 2020 developer. He's got a major update that's going to be happening and that we'll be emailing everybody shortly as soon as it's available. Okay, underneath our categories, we always want to choose our modules. These are our module systems. We have our stackable module, wall module, tall corner, outside corner, island modules, and some dummy helpers. So these are kind of the modules that we set in place. It's kind of different from kitchens because kitchens, you have these prefabricated and pre-assembled units. Here, we do have certain modules, but you still have to give it its height, width, and depth, okay? So let's go ahead and get started from the very beginning. I'm going to go ahead and click on my continuous ball button, room layout, continuous, and let's start off with a very basic reach-in closet, then we'll work our way to our walk-in closet. So reach-in closet, I'm going to make this 24 inches deep, and let's say by, I don't know, let's say 90 inches wide, and let's say again 24 inches deep. So here is your standard reach-in closet. I'll press escape, and there is my reach-in closet. The next thing that I like to do, Lisa, is I want to subtract the placement areas that's not needed. So I know that wall 1 is not needed and wall 3 is not needed. You can see where the placement zones are. So I'm going to right click on the walls itself, and then I'm going to left click on properties. I'm going to move this dialog box over so you can see where it's highlighted. So underneath wall number 1, we don't need that wall. Nothing is going to be placed under that wall. So I'm going to click on my type tab. And then in my type tab, I'm going to unselect my placement zone, my inside placement zone right here. I'm going to unselect it and click on apply. You can see the placement zone for wall 1 is gone. Now I'm going to select wall 3. I don't need to use wall 3. And now I'm going to click on my type and unclick my placement zone and click on apply. So now I just have one placement zone, which is my wall 2. If I click on wall group, I can go back to dimensions and I can change my height. Typical heights for our reach-in closets are going to be 96 inches. And again, just change your wall heights as necessary. I'll keep it at 96 inches. We'll click on OK. And now I've got my walls all ready to go. There are 2 ways to create my elevation view because this is where majority of our closet catalogs are going to use. Kitchens typically use the top view. For closets, we typically use the elevation view. So there's 2 methods to create your elevation view. 1, I can select the placement area. I see it that it's highlighted. Then I can click on my room layout tab and then click on add elevation. That's my first way to grab my elevation view. I'm going to delete the elevation. My next way, my apologies, to grab my elevation view is to select the placement area, and then I can double click anywhere in this area. I'm going to double click here. And now I've got my elevation view. So again, with closets, majority of the time, I like to use the elevation view. I want to say maybe 90 to 95% of the time. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and start creating our notes if needed. So I'm going to double click on this tab here, and I'm going to change it to, I can change it to my ID 1, I can change it to elevation 1, wall A. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just skip this then, since you have good understanding. Perfect. Thank you very much, Lisa. Okay, I'll just keep this at elevation 1 for now. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this top view for a moment here. Okay, so as a designer, I have three choices to create my module systems. One, I can create everything as a tall module. Option number two, I can create everything as a wall module. Or option number three, we can mix and match between tall modules and wall modules. Let's go with our very basic tall module first. Tall modules are modules that the weight bearing is on the floor. So pretty self-explanatory. So I have 90 degrees here. I'm going to typically with an actual reach and closet, you're going to have either 2 or 3, and you're going to have a door here. You're going to have a door here, or you can have like a slide out panels. So typically I can make 3 or 4 modules. Right now, I'm going to do something very, very basic and make 3 modules. We're going to make one standard module in the middle, and then a module on the left and a module on the right. Okay, that's going to be your easiest for your walk-in closets. Sorry, reach-in closets. Reach-in closets are very basics. I usually only put 3 or 4 modules in there, and that's it. So let's make 3 modules. I'm going to make it, because it's an odd number, let's make a center one first. I'm going to left click my tall module. You can see there's a tall module single and a regular tall module. We want the regular tall modules. Please ignore anything that says singles for now. I want to grab a regular tall module, drag it into my elevation view. I see my magnet, then I'm going to go to my farthest left, and then I'm going to let go of the mouse. Now I have another dialog box that appears. I'm going to right click on the illustration here just so I can see the image a little bit better. The default height is 83 15/16. If I move it up, it goes to 85 13/16. If I move it up again, it's 86 7/16. The reason why it's jumping is because we use the 32 millimeter European system. So the center of every line boring hole is 32 millimeters, but we've recalculated that from imperial to metric. I'm going to use the default of 83 15/16 for now. Let's keep following down the rows. We'll talk about applied back in level 2 advanced training. Clearance on the left, we're going to keep it at 0. Clearance on the right, we're going to keep it at 0. Next is opening one opening. So you can have one module with multiple openings. As a general rule, Lisa, I would always advise to do one module for one opening just for now. Okay, so let's do one module with one opening for now. Opening depth is 14 inches. That is the preset and the default. 14 inches is the closet standard depth. We have 12, 16, 19, 24. These are just presets, or you can go custom. The maximum module depth that you can do for a tall module is going to be 30 inches deep. But because this is closet systems, majority of all closet systems are going to be 14 inches. Next is opening one width. Default is 12, but then we can go to 15, 18, 24, 30, 36, or go to custom. The maximum recommended width is 36 inches, but you can go to 42. So just as a suggestion, just kind of keep to the basics and make your modules 36 inches as the very maximum if you can. The magic numbers that I typically like to use is 18, 24, and 30. Because 18, 24, and 30, a lot of our wire baskets from Hayfla are using those magic numbers. A lot of the actual vendors and supplies use those numbers, either from Richelieu, Marathon, or Hayfla. So again, 18, 24, and 30 are magic numbers. So I typically, when I'm making closet, I'll make a couple modules, those specific widths to accommodate and anticipate that they might use an accessory. I'm going to use 24 inches for now. Next is panel on the left and panel on the right. If I click on my drop-down button, I have 4 choices for each of my panels. So these are my verticals. I can have it half drilled, fully drilled, not drilled, or panel removed. Half drilled means that I got line boring holes on the inside, but if I move around, I've got a clean face on the outside. So that's what it means by half drilled. If I click on fully drilled, I got line boring holes on the inside and outside. And then I can also select not drilled. So nothing is drilled. So your installer will have to actually bore these holes himself, but it'll give it a nice clean look. Or I can have it panel removed. If I have it panel removed, I can share panels because obviously I can start sharing my modules. Okay, so when would you not want it drilled? End panels. If you have a master walk-in closet, then obviously you have an end panel and you don't want it drilled. Okay, and we'll talk about that in just momentarily here. I'm going to go back to my panel on the left, click on the drop down button and make this one fully drilled because it's inside a reaching closet. Now the question, I'm going to just answer your quick question here. If you make this half drilled, and now I have line boring holes on the inside, but a clean face on the outside, you can use this and you can have your installer punch the hole through from the line boring side all the way to the non-boring side. So you can do a few different things in case you wanted one panel to be somewhat clean. A lot of people have asked me, I'm like, well, what if you want nothing drilled at all? You could have nothing drilled at all, and then you're going to have to bring in another full panel, fully drilled, and that way your installer can use that as a stencil. I'll make everything fully drilled for now. Same thing as my panel on the right. I do want a bottom shelf. I do want a top shelf. I do want a toe kick. Here, I can change my toe kick from a default 3 3/4 to 5 inches or 6 1/4. You can see it changing right here. So you can go up and down, and these are the increments. I'll use the default toe kick height of 3 3/4, so pretty standard. We'll click on OK, and we're just going to drop it anywhere here on my elevation view. Now I can easily center this. I can right-click on my module. I can see that's a T module, tall module, and then I can click on center. I'll left click on center, then I'll have a plus button. On my plus button, I'm going to now go to my top view. I'm going to find my placement zone, which is anywhere in this area. I'm going to double click inside this placement zone, and it's going to center this for me. I can see that my annotations has now indicated that it's now centered. Okay, next is I'm going to fill in the gap here on the left and fill in the gap on the right here. Next is I'm going to click on a tall module single. I only use tall module singles, wall module singles, stackable module singles only when I want to fill in a gap. Okay, I can't stress that enough. I only use anything that says single if I want to fill in a gap. So on my left and right here, those are gaps. So now I can actually take those in and bring it in. Okay, so I'm going to click on my tall module single, drag it in. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left, and then I'm going to let go of my mouse. I'm going to right click on the illustration. I'm going to keep it at 83 15/16. And this time panel on the right, I'm going to remove that panel because I'm going to share it with this existing panel right here. I do want a bottom shelf, I do want a top shelf, and I do want a toe kick. But what about clearance on the left? So right now, this is going to be connected to an adjacent wall. So when I put in this module here, it's connected to this adjacent wall because it's going to be located right here. Well, I know that walls are never truly straight or perfect. They're never plumb. So right now, if I'm going to clear this out here, let's annotate. If I take a look at my top view right here, I know that drywall can sometimes look like this, where there's bowing, or it can kind of be bowing, reverse bowing, where it kind of looks like this. Regardless of the fact is we have to consider our installer. So as a designer and an owner, I have 3 different options to connect it to an adjacent wall. I can either I can scribe this from wall to wall, and therefore if it's too tight, my installer will have to cut some of the horizontals to make it fit. So that's option 1. Option number 2 is I can make this a 1/4 inch off the wall. So I can make this a 1/4 inch off the wall to accommodate any bowing of the drywall. Or option 3, if I have drawers or cabinet doors, or if I want more of a finished look, I can make this 1 inch or greater off the wall, and then therefore I can add a filler in there. Okay, so we're going to do a few different things. First, let's make the very basics, and we're going to make this a 1/4 inch off the wall. Okay, so my clearance on the left, I'm going to make this a 1/4 inch clearance off the wall. If you ask me, majority of our dealers will probably do this because they specialize in kitchens and bath, and they don't want to spend too much time on their closets. It just depends on the client that you have. Okay, I'm going to click on OK since I have my clearance, a 1/4 inch clearance on my left-hand side. I see my magnet. I'm going to go to my farthest left click once. Then I'm going to go to my farthest right, then left click once. And as you can see here, the guide has helped me out, and I now have a 1/4 inch clearance on my left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract the guide now. Now that I've got my 1/4 inch clearance, I can right click on my module, go out to my attributes, and now I'm going to subtract right click my illustration, go to my variables and subtract my clearance on the left because I want to subtract my guide. Now, if I look closely, I still have my 1/4 inch clearance, but my guide is no longer there. Okay, let's do the same thing, but we're going to go on the left-hand side. Okay, so exactly the same thing. I'm going to left click on tall module single. So I'm just filling in the gap. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left and let go of my mouse. I'm going to right click on the illustration. Clearance on the right. This time it's going to be a 1/4 inch clearance on the right as opposed to the left. Panel on the left this time. I'm going to remove this panel because I'm sharing it with this existing panel. I do want a top shelf, I do want a toe kick, and I do want bottom shelf. We'll click on OK. Now I'm going to go to my farthest left click once, farthest right, left click once. And you can see I still have my 1/4 inch clearance here. Okay, so now let's start populating our modules. What's fantastic about modules is that when you drag and drop components, you do not need to resize any of the components once the modules are always in set. This is always going to be the hardest, challenging part to designing using our closet catalog. Once the modules are set in place, then we can actually populate it. We do not need to indicate the exact size because the module dictates that. Underneath my categories, I have parts, accessories, moldings, obstacles, and extras. Underneath my parts section, I've double clicked it and that creates 4 areas. I've got my panels, shelves, drawers, and then the list of parts. Under the list of parts, I've got my cleats. I've got toe kicks, valences, backs, inserts, doors, tops, and fillers. If I double click my panels section, I have panels. So I can individually create panels. I can drag and drop and I can create individual panels depending on the application. If I go back into parts, we have shelves. Underneath our shelves, I have fixed shelves, adjustable shelves. I have slanted shoe shelves, bridge shelves, glass shelves, corner shelves. Underneath my parts section, last but not least, is my drawers. Underneath my drawers, I've got my dovetail drawer box. So this is my 5-piece drawer box with a drawer front. The next section is my Melamine 5-piece drawer box. So this is my 5-piece drawer. So this is a 5-piece drawer box with a drawer front. If I scroll down, I now have my scooped dovetail drawer box. So this is great for pantries and people that want to save a little bit of cost. We have in an actual a scooped area where they can actually use as a handle, so there's no drawer front. And then next I have jewelry trays, I got ironing boards, and so that's it for my part section. This is where majority of the items I'm going to be using. So in my parts, let's just keep it to very basic for now. I have my drawers. Let's go ahead and add some drawers in there. So I can use a 5-piece or a melamine. Sorry, 5-piece melamine or a dovetail. Let's go ahead and throw in a whole bunch of melamine drawer boxes. I'm going to grab a 12-inch, drop it in. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse, and I'm going to go all the way to the very bottom. Please note, if you actually zoom in, it doesn't go all the way, but as soon as I go as far bottom as I can, I'm going to left click once. Now the actual drawer front populates. Let's do that again. Left click my 12-inch high drawer front, which is our melamine 5-piece. Drag it in. I see my magnet. Let go of my mouse. And again, it's just dragging the box. I'm going to drag it as far down as I can. Left click once. And now my drawer front populates. Let's do it one more time. Left click my melamine drawer box. I see my magnet. Let go of my mouse. And now I have my box. Drop it in, and I'm all done. Regardless of how many drawer boxes you have, either if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter how many drawer boxes, you will always need a fixed shelf at the very bottom of the drawer bank and at the very top of the drawer bank. So I've already got one in place. Obviously, there's a bottom shelf with a toe kick already. So there I have one here. Now I have to grab a part and another fixed shelf at the very top. I'm going to click on my parts. Into my parts, I'm going to double click on shelves, and I have shelf fixed. This is the majority of the items that I'll be using, shelf fixed or shelf adjustable. I'm going to grab a fixed shelf. left click once, drag it in. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse. And you can see here that if I move it against these modules, it's already resizing it for me. I don't need to do anything. It's resizing it for me. I'm going to zoom in, and this is all going to be half overlay. I'm going to drop it in right here, and you can see everything is a half overlay. It's going to be 3/8 of an inch half overlay for all our doors and all our drawer fronts. Okay, so everything in blue is a fixed shelf. So now I have a fixed shelf at the very top of the drawer bank and a fixed shelf at the very bottom of the drawer bank. Same thing applies. If I go ahead to my parts and drawers and I grab another 12-inch drawer front, I put it into my right side here. If I only wanted one drawer here, I could then just go to my parts, shelves, shelf fixed, drag it into place. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse, drop it in, and I can do this again, half overlay. And there you go. That's kind of what I would do if I only wanted one drawer bank. Okay, just to give you an idea. Okay, so let's just leave that alone for now. Okay, next is in the middle here. After I've grabbed all my drawers, let's go ahead and add a whole bunch of adjustable shelves here. I go into my parts, shelves, and shelf adjustable. Left click, drag it in, and I can see my magnet, drop it in, and in. And again, I can just visually center this. Once I'm done visually centering this, I can actually center this properly afterwards. On the left-hand side, let's create a double hang. Double hangs are probably the most popular. Dealers and end clients always ask me, do you put more shelves and drawers or more rods and hanging rods? More hanging rods. For every dealer that I've spoken to and every end client that I've spoken to, majority of them want more hanging rod as opposed to shelves and drawers, just to give you an idea. So let's give this person a double hang right here on the left-hand side. I'm going to grab a shelf fixed, drag it in here. Now that it's somewhat centered, I'm going to go into my categories, and now I'm going to click on my accessories. So we've talked about modules and parts. Now we're going to double click on accessories. In my accessories, I've got my ironing board, my lights, office, garage, pull-out rods, tilt-outs, and wire baskets. Let's just take a look at rods just for now. I'm going to double click my rods. I've got a closet rod, and then I've got a wardrobe lift. Wardrobe lifts are a hydraulic and spring-loaded lift. It's for those people that are quite short and they need to access their rods, or they're an average height person and they have a very tall ceiling. Maybe they have 130 inches of space and they want a triple hang for their clothes. So again, it just depends on what they want to do. We sold one last month to somebody in Vegas where somebody was in a wheelchair. So all their tops were actually all on a wardrobe lift. I'm going to left click my closet rod, left click, drag it in. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse, and I'm going to just drop it in here. And I'm going to drop another one at the very top. So we can make a double hang. Here I can make another one for my dresses and my 3/4 inch long coats. I typically will need roughly about 60 inches for this. So now that it's almost done, I'm going to right click on the actual line to lines, and I'm going to auto dim and hide everything. No, it does not do auto spacing from a fixed shelf. So the question is, does the actual items, are they centered for us? No, we're going to have to manually do that. And I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to right click on the auto dim and hide. And now I have two ways that I can do this here to grab my line to line annotations here. Okay, I'm going to auto dim and hide everything just to give you an idea of. Okay, so I'm going to auto dim and hide all the line to line annotations. So there we go. We're at very bare basics now. So there's two ways to do my line to line annotations. My first way is I can do it manually. I can go to my annotations tab at the top left-hand side, then click on my line to line. Once I click on my line to line, I now have a plus button on my actual cursor. I can zoom in, and now I can go from one spot. So about right here, left click once. And then I can go down here, left click once, and now that'll give me my spacing. So again, that is annotations, line to line, and I want to find out the inside depths here. Here is the other way to do it. I can simply click on my F2 button. It's my hotkey, and now I found my line to line a little bit faster. This is how you would create your hotkeys. You can click on this button here. It's called Customize Quick Access Toolbar. Go to More Commands. Underneath more commands, you're going to go to customize. Keyboard shortcuts, customize. Under customize, I'm going to click on my annotations because that's what I want because it's annotating. And underneath commands, I want to find my line to line. Underneath my line to line dimensions, I have two hotkeys, F2 and F4. So again, you can go ahead, click on this press new shortcut key, and therefore you can create any new hotkey on your keyboard so you don't have to keep pressing on the annotations and line to line. I've also got the same thing for my notes. For my notes, because I use notes quite a bit for my 2020 designs, I have my F3 as my current hotkey. Hopefully that answers your question there, Lisa. So now I can go ahead and I can now just move this, drag and drop, and I can just start moving this into place. So let's go ahead and use my hotkey now. I can hit my F2 button, and now I'm going to go from the top of the rod to the very bottom, top of the rod to the very bottom. And as you can see, it's not centered. So now I can just move this fixed shelf up one, and I'll move this closet rod up one. And now I've got my line-to-line annotations perfectly set. And let's try to figure out this button here. This is going to be for my dresses and long coats. So 66 inches, I need at least 60 inches. So let's just pretend that I'm going to drop it in around here. And that way I can make another shelf, or I can make it extra long and leave this here since I already have an actual drawer bag here. Now I can go ahead and click on my hotkey. I'm going to click on more annotations, and then I'll just annotate. And again, this is more curb appeal. This is going to be my blueprint for my installer, but also a sign-off sheet for my actual client. And there you go. And then last but not least, I'll click on my install height. So again, you can go above and beyond. I like to go above and beyond and add more notes than necessary. And then I'll create my depths here. Okay, so the question is, when you manually move an item in height, it goes into the 32 millimeter increments. Yes, that is correct. It always will go 32 millimeter increments for height. For widths, we can go to a 16th, but yes, you are correct. Only heights is 32 millimeters. The next question is, can you offset to do custom spacing? Yes, you can do offset and do custom spacing. Just go ahead and on the right-hand side, my legend is gone here, but you can go ahead and undo, I believe it's not area snap, but I believe it is the offset. There's a button on the bottom right-hand side that I don't have. But yes, you can do custom offset spacing. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to go ahead and obviously, I can finalize this. I can make more annotations if I wanted to. I can click on my notes, click on my note. I've got a template already that I like to use. So I'm going to click on my template. And obviously this populates, my project. And I'll just say that this is, for example, Lisa's guest closet, for example. I can say with the material, the color, I can say that it is 83 and 15/16 as my install height. I can type in my accessories, drawer boxes is 5-piece. So again, you can go above and beyond and do as many different types of notes that you would like here. So I typically like to use this template. It kind of works for me, but every designer is going to be a bit different. So now that the tall module is all done, nothing needs to be done before actual configuration. Now we can take care of profiles and colors and changing the accessories and so forth. Okay, so how do we do that? I'm going to file and save this first, just so I don't lose my work. File, save as, and I'll just save this as Lisa's desktop. I'll save this as Lisa's guest closet. Okay, we'll click on OK. Okay, now that it's saved, I'm going to click on my items and features and options. Now, typically for kitchens, you would click on global attributes and styles and pricing. So I'm going to click on features and options. As you know, with 2020, there are a number of different ways that you can actually build your closet and change your profiles. I'm going to show you one of several ways. So the first thing is as items, then options, which is abbreviated for features and options. Now I can click on every single one of these items and I can change the properties on every single item. I know that I can select individual items because if I move this further down, I can see what's selected in the background if it's highlighted in green. If I double click on global, so that everything's selected, I know everything's selected because behind my dialog box, everything is going to be in green. Okay, so let's go ahead and change these properties here. So now we're going to change everything all at once, from top to bottom. First thing is Rod finish and options. By default, everything says closet oval rod chrome. So that means that all the rods are going to be oval chrome rods. If I click on this option code, I can click on this drop down button and I can select my closet round rod chrome. I can click on round rod matte aluminum and so forth. I can also change it here on the right hand side. I'll leave it at closet oval rod chrome. Majority of our dealers love that. It's the least expensive and it's the most contemporary in my opinion. I love using chrome because chrome doesn't scratch. If I use matte aluminum or oil rub bronze, if they have a metal hanger, it will eventually scratch and wear and tear, just to kind of give you an idea. Next is my door and drawer profile. So if I click on EUR, which is our Euro, that is the current default. Everything's gonna be on our Euro flat front slab for my drawer fronts. I can change it to my thermofoil. I can change it to a Brooklyn 5-piece. I can change it to a 5-piece shaker, 5-piece glass shaker, and so forth. Okay. So let's change it to a 5-piece shaker. That's kind of one of my favorites that I like to use. If I click on my 5-piece shaker, now everything's changed to 5PS. So anything that has a door drawer front will be now a 5-piece shaker. Below that, I have a subcategory. It says here, for my door and drawer profiles, I have a TFL that's been selected. And right now, by default, everything is going to be in white. So again, that's another default setting that we have. All the things that we drag and drop will always be in white. So therefore, it's safe to assume that whenever you drag and drop items, you change your profiles and your colors at the very end of the project. I'm going to click on my drop down. Instead of white, I can click on one of these items here. Our new catalog will have now 33 colors, but obviously for now we are limited to our color selections until our new catalog comes up. I'm going to click on Tobacco Halifax just so that we can see it a little bit better. So now my door and drawer profiles are now a 5-piece shaker and in Tobacco Halifax. The next subcategory and next line item is my pull options. By default, everything is a no handle. I can do push to opens. I can click on one of these door handles and so forth. All these handles come from Hayfla. One of our dealers will never ever buy door handles from us from Hayfla. They provide their own, and I believe it comes from overseas. So typically what they will do is they will choose a handle just for the rendering, and then before they submit it to their order, they'll select no handle. So that's just a little bit of customization, obviously a little trick that a lot of our dealers will do. So again, you can choose one of our handles, which is through Hayfla, or B, choose a handle, do the rendering, and then delete the handle afterwards before you submit the order. I'll click on a very basic handle. I'll just click on 140 millimeter stainless steel for now. So now all my drawer fronts will now have a 140 millimeter stainless steel pull handle. Next section is my finishes. So everything's in TFL and all my shelves and gables are now white because we've just done the door and drawer profile. So now we got to do our horizontals and our verticals. So everything's defaulted in white, and let's click on my Tobacco Halifax. So now I have Tobacco Halifax for my carcass as well as my door and drawer fronts. Anything that says from slides options all the way down, I typically will leave this alone. I won't really touch any of this section below here. So you can ignore this. This is all about customizing edge band. I highly advise not to touch the edge banding because it's already pre-done and preset. All the edge bandits are going to be at the very top, front, and bottom. Okay, I'm going to just click on that. All right, so now I'm going to click on OK, and now let the program think, and now everything's going to be changed. Let's double check, and everything's been changed. I'm going to click on Save, and now I'm going to click on my Presentation tab, click on my Perspective View, and let's go ahead to my rendering. And now everything looks great. I have everything in 5-piece, and everything's been changed. Any questions at all, Lisa, for a tall module? If not, I'm going to go ahead and make a wall module. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to save on this item here, and I'm going to minimize this here, and I'm going to make a brand new design. So again, now we're going to go into our wall modules, and we're going to go a bit faster, okay? I'm going to click on my file, new. Under my local browser, we'll click on Perfect Fit Canada, the Canadian catalog, Canadian pricing. We'll click on my continuous walls and again, do the exact same thing. 24 inches deep by 90 inches wide by 24 inches deep. hit the escape button, go 24 inches deep. Now hit the escape button. Again, now I'm going to right click on my walls, left click on properties. Now I'm going to go into my wall 1, click on my type, and unclick the placement zone there. Click on apply, and then we're going to do the same thing for wall 3. Click on wall 3, click on type, unclick placement zone, click on apply, okay. Now I have this one placement area. I can click on add elevation or double click in this placement zone here. I'm going to click on my add elevation, minimize this. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do wall modules, okay? So this is for clients that want to save a little bit of costs, but at the end of the day, it's going to take your installer a little bit more to figure out what the exact calculations are on the actual wall modules, okay? But again, this saves money. The basic formula applies. The more material that you have, the less cost it's going to be in terms of the actual material pricing, okay? Just give me one moment here. Okay, so there I got it all good to go. Sorry, my apologies there. I just had a hiccup there, technical issue. So now I'm going to click on my modules. I'm going to click on my wall modules. Did you need to put cleats for the tall modules? Yes. Thank you very much for reminding me. I was just going a little bit faster there, but yes, you are correct. I would put cleats for my tall modules. Here's my tall modules. To finish it off, I go to my categories, my parts, and cleats. And yes, I would put a cleat right here. Now, this is an installation question there that I teach on level 2. So these cleats are usually there, and I usually like to buy cleats for my installer that they could use as an anchor point. But alternatively, they can actually screw these panels right into the actual wood stud. So I know that there's going to be a wood stud right here, and then the next is probably one in the middle, 16 inches, and another one right here. That's kind of where my wood studs are going to be, somewhere around there. So what my installer could do is they can take a screw and go right through this panel and into the wood stud for security, but they could also use these actual cleats as my anchor points. So very good question. Thank you very much, Lisa. All right, so let's go ahead back down and let's use my wall module. Explode that. So let's do the exact same thing. I'm going to now go to my double click categories, my modules, and let's left click a regular wall module, not a single, just a regular wall module. Left click, drag it in. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left, let go of my mouse. I'm going to right click on the illustration. Now, instead of 47 3/8, I'm going to go all the way down and make this panel a little bit taller. Let's say 72 5/8. One opening, 14-inch depth, opening one width. I'll make this one 24, so I'm going to do the exact same design as my tall modules. Panel left's fully drilled, panel on the right is fully drilled. Shelf bottom, I'm going to click on the drop down. Instead of bottom with a rod, I'm going to click on bottom shelf. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to click on OK and drop it in. I'm going to right click on the illustration on the wall module, left click on center, and I'm going to double click in this placement area right here. And now it's centered it like so. Now, again, I'm going to now fill in the gap here. I'm going to left click my wall module single. This time I'm going to add a filler in there, okay? I'm going to left click my wall module single. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left, let go of my mouse and drop it in. Okay, so you had a question there. Do you need a fixed shelf above a rod that's in the middle? I assume it's needed for stability. Yes, that is correct. If I have 3 modules, if I have a tall module, I typically like to have 3 fixed shelves for a tall module. For a wall module, I typically like to have 2 fixed shelves, which I'll show you here. I'm going to right click on the illustration so I can see it a bit better. Clearance on the left. I'm going to make it 1 inch clearance off the left. So I'm going to add a filler this time. Panel on the right, I'm going to remove the panel. And I do want a bottom shelf with a rod. We have a little cheat system here. We can have no bottom shelf, and then I could manually add a bottom shelf with a rod, or I can use this system that's already in place, bottom shelf with a rod. I like it. I need it. I'm going to click on OK. Now I'm going to go to my farthest left click once, go to my farthest right, So you can see that I can't go anymore because what's going to happen is I told the program I wanted a 1-inch clearance on the left. So it's going to reshift it there for me. So now I'm going to left click once. And now as you can see, the guide has now reshifted everything over 1 inch because I told the program I needed a 1-inch clearance. So there's the guide, and the guide might confuse them. So again, we're going to right click on the wall module, go into my attributes, and then I'm going to right click on the illustration, left click on my variables, and I'm going to subtract my clearance on the left. I'm going to make this 0, click on apply and OK. Now, once I've done that, you can see that the guide is no longer there and I still have my 1/4 inch clearance. Sorry, my 1-inch clearance on the left. Let's do the same thing on the right-hand side. I'm going to left click my wall module single. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left, let go of my mouse. Now I'm going to make this one for my dresses and long coats. So I technically don't really need a panel of 47 3/8. I'm going to actually make this a little bit lower. Let's make this one 31 inches as my panel height. I'm going to make a 1-inch clearance on the right, and I'm going to subtract the panel on the left. I'm going to share it with that panel here. Now, as a test, instead of bottom with rod, we're going to click on no bottom shelf. So that's all what it's going to look like. I've got my hanging rail, my fixed shelf, and my panel. We're going to click on OK. Go to my farthest left, left click once, farthest right, left click once. And you can see because I work left to right, I don't really have a guide anymore, and I still have my 1-inch clearance. It only applies going from left to right on the left side of the module. Okay, so now that it's all done, let's start populating. Very similar to what we did before. I can click on my categories, my parts, go to my drawers, and let's say that I wanted a melamine drawer box here. We'll do the exact same 3 boxes that we did before in my other design. And again, I'm going to need a fixed shelf at the very top of my drawer bank. Click on my parts, shelves, fixed shelf, drag it into place. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse, and half overlay. And there you go. I'm going to take another fixed shelf right here because I'm going to add this for my dresses and my long coats. So I can move that up and down afterwards. I'm going to click on my categories, accessories, and rods. I'm going to drag a closet rod into place. I'm going to go to the very top and 1 hole down. Same thing right here, drag it in, right to my closet rod, my fixed shelf, and then down 1 hole. Now this will give it 15/16 of an inch clearance, as I can see here. Now, some people will say, oh, that's not enough space for my hanging rod. For most people, this will suffice. Some people will say, you know what, drop it down an extra hole. So now I have a 2 3/16 clearance. So that's what a lot of people do like, but also a lot of people like to be a little bit picky and say, no, I want as efficient as possible. So make it 15/16 of an inch. So again, it's really up to you if you want to do 1 hole down or 2 holes down. Okay. Okay, so now that's done. I'm going to click on my categories, my parts, shelves, and I'm going to grab an adjustable shelf and my 2 adjustable shelves like so, just like I did my last design. And now I'm going to right click, auto dim, hide, right click, auto dim and hide. So again, I'm just going to auto dim everything. Right click, auto dim, hide, right click, auto dim, hide, and do the same thing for my top view. Right click, auto dim, hide. And again, I like to add my own dims. 2020 is very great at adding all these extra dimensions there, but obviously I like to do my own. Okay. So to answer your question about your fixed shelves and stability, you can see that I had to unforced to put an actual 3rd fixed shelf here for a wall module. I told you that wall modules, I like to have a minimum of 2 fixed shelves, and tall modules, I like to have a minimum of 3 fixed shelves. But because this is a drawer bank, I had to add a fixed shelf here. There's nothing wrong with adding an extra fixed shelf. It's just more expensive than adjustable shelf. But you can see here in my wall module on the left and wall module on the right, I have here only 2 fixed panels, fixed shelves. So let's go ahead and start adding our annotations here and so forth. So let's go from left to right. So I've got my 1 inch here, and I'm going to add my inside dimensions. And I'll just move that up. And I'll just make it nice and neat. And I'll grab my 1 inch down below here. So I tell them that's 1 inch clearance. I also want to give my heights. So I need a panel height here. And then I'm going to do a panel height right here. And my last panel height on the right-hand side. And last but not least is my installation height, top to bottom. And my variance right there. Okay, so the question is, if you have a single rod at the top and that's it, no other shelving, what is recommended length of the remaining panel one on the right for this situation? Okay, so what is the shortest that I can go? This is 12 and an eighth is the shortest that I can go. So if I just move this out of the way for now, I can take this actual module and go to 12 inches. So I can go to my attributes and let's shorten this out here. Right click on the illustration so I can see it better. Go into my variables. So now it's currently at 31 inches height. Let's go all the way down to 12 inches. So 12 and an eighth is the shortest panel that I can make for any type of panel module or anything. 12 and an eighth is my minimum. Okay, we'll click on apply and okay. And you can see here that I can now go to 12 and an eighth. Now, everybody asks me, like, I want to place a bid for a condominium unit. I want to make everything just one shelf and one rod. This is what I would do. So 12 and an eighth is your minimum. We need this for stability wise. Then I can take my actual rod, drag it in, and I can theoretically just delete this shelf. I don't really need it. I've already got a fixed shelf there. It's minimal. And that's kind of what I would do for a minimalist look. Hopefully that answers your question, Lisa. Perfect. Okay. So yes, that's a very popular question only because a lot of people bid for these large projects and sometimes the interior designers will say, no, for my spec sheet, I just want one shelf and one rod. So I understand completely what you're asking. And it happens quite often. Okay, so now that I've auto dimmed and hide everything, I think I've got everything I need. So once you've kind of auto dimmed and hide everything, then again, you're going to click on add your notes, add your annotations. Then you're going to go to your items, options, and one more time, double click on global so everything's selected, and then you can change it from oval chrome bronze to whatever you like, from Euro to maybe, let's say 5-piece glass door. So now I have a glass, actually no, that wouldn't make sense because obviously we're gonna be looking right into the drawer box. So let's click on just our flat Euro for now. And then again, we can change our door and drawer profile from white to tobacco Halifax. And then I can change my pull options. Let's just pick this pull option right here. And then again, my finishes, my carcass is going to be right now in white. Let's change it to Hacienda black just so they can see the difference. So I've got my tobacco Halifax for my door and drawer profiles, and it's going to be a Euro drawer front. And then I've got a Hacienda black for my horizontals and my verticals. Let's click on OK. Click on presentation, perspective view. And you can see here, I've now two-toned it, as you can see, as I indicated. So you can see that you can physically customize every single one of those components. So we have two sections. Remember, there's one section for door and drawer profiles, another section for the accessories and the finishes, and another one for our actual verticals and horizontals. Now, pricing. How do we figure out pricing there? And I think we can call it a session there, Lisa. Or now, unless you have something very specific that you want to ask, let me know. To find out the pricing for this, there's two ways to find out pricing. Your first way is you can click on your presentation tab and click on quick price. If I click on quick price, the current price for this current wall module and the colors chosen is going to be $624.20. That is your list price. So that's the current cost. And then plus you add your freight and your markup. The alternative way to get a detailed pricing is to click on your presentation tab. And instead of quick price, we'll left click on reports. On reports, I'm going to click on my cost and sell report and click on OK. So again, that was my cost and sell report. I'm going to left click on view. And if I can export this to and PDF this, or I can simply go ahead and look at all item lists here. So I can see here for every single one of these items, I've got a list price and a cost price. And again, I'm looking at all the list price. You can see exactly how much everything costs. And you can scroll all the way down. And here's the same number. $624.18 is the list price. So your list price, again, as a reminder, is always going to be your hardware and wooden core products. The cost is just your wooden core product. Oh, my apologies. So again, your list price is right here. That's your list price and that's your costs. This is your list price. This is your hardware, which is also known as consumables, and wood core products. And this cost column here is just the wood product. Correct, exactly. So this price here, the cost, excludes the screws, the cab locks, accessories, hardware, everything, just so that you know exactly the differences. So again, to make it easy, just use the list price. The list excludes that too. Yes, that's correct. Okay, otherwise we are all done for the day here, Lisa. Is there anything that you want to ask, or is there anything specific that you want me to ask? We can always give private sessions. If there's nobody here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have no problem. I do a lot of private sessions during those specific times, or you can always email myself or Elizabeth or Trevor or Mally or anybody on our team, and we can certainly give you a private one-on-one session. Now, if I go out of here for a moment. Okay, so your question here is, I use the single mods for my first design. Is there anything wrong with doing that? No, there is nothing wrong with doing that. You can use single mods. I don't really recommend it because this is what's going to happen here. Here's a brand new layout. So the question is, can you use single mods for every single one of your modules? You could. So here is my actual layout here. So let's just use Elevation 1 as an example here. So if I click on my local browser, let's go to Perfect Fit Canada Canadian catalog, click on my modules. If I use a tall module single, I could drag it in. I see my magnet, drop it in. So theoretically, I could. So I could just say my left is going to be half drilled and click on OK. And I could just drop it in, left click, and just kind of do this myself and drop it in. So here is what's going to be a little bit confusing, and bear with me here, okay? So I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to left click my tall module single. I see my magnet. Now we're going to pretend that we want to make this module 24 inches deep. Sorry, my apologies. Let's just say that we want to make this module 24 inches wide because we're going to add a wire basket in there, okay? So I see my magnet. I'm going to let go of my mouse. Now I need to have a 24-inch wide module system, okay? I'm going to right click on the illustration. I'm going to left click panel on the left. I'm going to remove the panel. I'm going to click on OK. Now I need to make this 24 inches wide, okay? So I'm going to butt it against this right panel. I'm going to share it. I'm going to left click once. Now I need to make it 24 inches wide. So if I take a look at my placement area on the top left-hand side, I can keep going until it says 24. Or I can just type in 24. So you can see it's kind of a little bit difficult to try to get that exact 24. But look what happens when I type in 24 in my placement view. On the top left-hand side, my width is 24 inches wide. Watch what happens. I'm going to right-click once, 24 inches. But why is it 23 1/4? Anything that says singles, stackable module singles, wall module singles, or tall module singles, it will always use the outside dimensions. And right now we're trying to figure out, we need exactly 24 inches. It's a little bit more difficult because now you have to rethink your mind on how to recalculate it. It's a lot easier just to take a tall module, drag it in. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left. And it's a lot easier, I promise you that, because I've been using this catalog now for 6 years now. Right click on the illustration, panel on the left, remove that panel. And instead, I'm going to just say I want a 24-inch wide module. Again, this is going to be inside depths, 24 inches wide. We'll click on OK. I'm going to share it with that panel, butt it up against it. And now, look, I have exactly 24 inches, and I don't have to worry about the actual measurements and so forth. Again, if I wanted to, I can make a standalone tall module single. And let's make a module right here on the right-hand side. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse. Let's make a standalone 24 inches wide module. Well, I know from outside to outside, I know that it's 3/4 inches for each panel. So 0.75 times it by 2. So I need to make a module that is now going to be 24 inches plus 1.5, which is 25.5 inches. So now I'm going to make this one fully drilled, click on OK. And now I'm going to left click once, drop it in. Now on my placement area right here, I'm going to make this one 25.5 inches, or I can move this again to make it look like 25.5. If I keep moving to the right, and see, you can see it's a little bit hard to try to find that exact 25.5. I'll make it 25.5, click on OK, and now I have a 24-inch wide module inside opening. So you can kind of see how the calculations can be a little bit more confusing when you do it this way. So just to make things easy, always use your regular modules, regular stackable, regular wall, regular tall. Only use singles for filling in gaps. So if I right click here, drag it, and let's just say that my gap is less than 36 inches. So let's just say that I have a gap right here. Okay, I've got a gap right here. What can I do? I have two options to fill in this gap. Option A is and the best option is going to be my tall module single. Drag it into place here. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left. So that, again, I'm using my tall module single now. Right click on the illustration. This time I'm going to subtract my panel on the left and I'm going to subtract my panel on the right. Okay, because I'm sharing the panel on the left and I'm sharing the panel on the right. So really, I only have a top shelf, a bottom shelf, and a toe kick. I'm going to click on OK. Now I'm going to go to my farthest left click once, and my farthest right, left click once. So now I've got my tall module single, and I've successfully filled in the gap. Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's do the second option. Now this is my alternative. Instead of doing a tall module single, and by the way, that's what I would do, but the other option is I can just go to my categories, parts, shelves, grab a fixed shelf, drag it in, and now I can just fill in the gap with parts. There's another fixed shelf here, and then I go to my parts, and I've got my toe kick, connect to fixed shelf, drag it in, and now I can put a toe kick. And that's the second way to kind of fill in a gap if I have a module on the left and the module on the right. So again, I would still use my singles to fill in the gap, because if we use a module system, when we resize the modules, our parts resize with it. So if I take a part right here, so there's my part, here's another part. Let's just throw in a whole bunch of parts here. Throw in another part right here. So here's my parts. I'm going to right click on this module. I'm going to resize the width. If I resize it, look what happens to all the parts. Everything is now shrunken with it. So that's the beauty part about modules. You don't need to tell the program the sizes and the widths of all the components. It will tell you if it works or if it doesn't work. Okay. So this ends our session there. And as always, I record our sessions every single week. If you click on our training tab, go into our PFC 2020 closet webinars. There's 3 different ways to train yourself on our closet catalog. One is you can attend these sessions every Tuesdays and every Thursdays. Level 1 is on Tuesdays, level 2 is on Thursdays, and I talk about different tips and tricks. Here's a reoccurring link and a password and our meeting times, 1:00 p.m. Eastern. I always recommend, as our option number 2, if you can't make these sessions, click on our 2020 past webinars. I always load up our past webinars here at the end of the day, and you can see that these are all our past webinars. Lisa, if you want to take a look at a very great basic training module, I highly recommend February 16th is a fantastic level 1 reach-in that talks about our tall modules and wall modules. I really do like our February 18th, our tips and tricks. It talks about islands and peninsulas and sharing panels and when to use dummy helpers and going ahead with heights. So again, that's February 18th is what I recommend. And another one that I would recommend is the level 2, March the 4th. When to use wall modules and when to share panels and working with different module depths. So this is a fantastic one. So again, I recommend the March 4th, and I recommend the February 18th, and I recommend the February 16th, but try to do that in order instead. Okay, and last but not least, you can click on our training tab, go into our software, and in our software, we have a fantastic training video section here. So these are all the training videos in order from setup to preferences and a step-by-step guide of how to use your modules and parts and accessories. So I recommend you can do here in the tutorials or go back to the actual webinars. Try to do the webinars first. I think you're going to find that more informative as opposed to the software tutorial in my recommendation. And as always, you can always email us at support@perfectfitcanada.com, and one of our designers will get back to you. If you email myself, I do typically will do sales and training, but I always recommend, if I'm busy, always email us at support@perfectfitcanada.com. Thank you very much once again, Lisa. Have a wonderful day, and please email me if you have any questions. Level 2 tips and tricks will be on Thursday. Sounds great. You're very welcome. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Lisa. Good luck.